The Adventures of Tom Sawyer preface. Uh, Most of the adventures recorded in this book really occurred. One or two were experiences of my own. The rest tales of boys who were schoolmates of mine. Huck Finn is a drum for life. Tom Sawyer also, but not from an individual. He's a combination of the characteristics of three boys whom I knew, and therefore belongs to the composite order of architecture. The odd superstition touched upon were all prevalent among children and slaves in the West at the period of this story, that is to say, 30 or 40 years ago. Although my book is intended mainly for the entertainment of boys and girls, I hope it will not be shunned by men and women on that account, for part of my plan has been to try pleasantly remind adults of what they once were themselves and of how they felt and thought on talk, and what queer enterprise they sometimes engaged in. The author, Hartford, 1876. But Joe's spirits had gone down almost beyond resurrection. He was so homesick that he could hardly endure to the misery of it. The tears lay very near the surface. Huck was melancholy too. Tom was downhearted, but tried hard not to show it. He had a secret which he was not ready to tell just, but if this Marino's depression was not broken up soon, he will have to bring it out, he said with a great show of cheerfulness. I bet there's been pirates on this island before, boys. Well explore it again, Dave. He treasured here somewhere. How you'll feel to light on a rotten chest full of gold and silver. Hey, but it rose only faint enthusiasms, which faded out with now rapidly to try one or two other seductions, but they failed too. It was discouraging work. Joe sat poking up sand with a stick and looking very gloomy. Finally he said, "Oh boys, let's get it up. I want to go home. It's so lonesome." "Oh no, Joe, you'll feel better by and by," said Tom. "Just think of the fishing that's here." "I don't care for fishing. I want to go home." "But Joe, there ain't such another swimming place anywhere." "Swimming's no good. I don't seem to care for it somehow. Where there ain't anybody to say I shan't go in, I mean to go home." "Oh, shucks, baby. You want to see your mother, I reckon." "Yes, I do want to see my mother. And you will too, if you had a one. I ain't any more baby than you are." And Joe snuffled a little. Well, let the crybaby go home to his mother. Won't we, Huck? Poor things. Does it want to see its mother? And so it's told. You like it here, don't you, Huck? Well, stay, won't he? Huck said yes, without any hair in it. "I'll never speak to you again as long as I live," said Joe, rising there now, and he moved moodily away and began to dress himself. "Who cares?" said Tom. "Nobody wants you to go along home and get laughed at. Oh, you're a nice pirate. Huck and me ain't crybabies." "Well, stay 1 week, Huck. Let him go if he wants to. I reckon we can get along without him, perhaps." But Tom was uneasy nevertheless, and was alarmed to see Joe go slowly on with dressing, and then it was discomforting to see Huck eyeing Joe's preparation so wistfully and keeping up such an ominous silence. Personally, without a parting word, Joe began to wade off towards the Illinois shore. Tom's heart began to sink. He glanced at Huck. Huck could not bear the look and dropped his eyes. Then he said, "I want to go too, Tom. It was getting too lonesome anyway, and now it'll be worse. Let us go, Tom." "I won. You can all go. You can all go if you want to. If you want to. I mean to stay. Tom, I better go." "Well, go along. Who's hurting you?" Huck began to pick up his scattered clothes. He said, "Tom, I wish you'd come too. Now you think it over. Well, wait for you when we get to shore." "Well, you'll wait a blame long time, that's all." Huck started sorrowfully away, and Tom stood looking at him with a strong desire tugging at his heart to yield his pride and go along too. He hoped the boys would stop, but they waited slowly on. It suddenly dawned on Tom that it was become very lonely, and still he may one finally struggle with his pride, and then darted after his comrades, yelling, "Wait, I want to tell you something." They presently stopped to turn it around. When he got to where they were, he began unfolding his secrets, and they listened moodily till at last they saw the point he was driving at. Then they set up a war whoop of applause, and say it was splendid, and say if he had told them at first, they wouldn't have started away. He made a plausible excuse, but his real reason had been the fear that not even the secret would keep them with him any very great length of time, and so he had meant to hold it in reverse as a last seduction. The lads came gaily back and went at their sports again, with a wheel chattering all the time about Tom's stupendous plan and admiring the genius of it. After a dainty egg and fish dinner, Tom said he wanted to learn to smoke. Now, Joe coughed at the idea and said he would like to try it too. So Huck made pipes and filled them. These novices had never smoked anything before but cigars made of grapevine, and they bit the tongue and were not considered manly anyway. Now they stretched themselves out on their elbows and began to puff cheerily and with slender confidence to smoke, and had an unpleasant taste, and they giggled a little. But Tom said, "Why, it's just as easy. If I'd known it, this was all I learned long ago. So would I," said Joe. "It's just nothing. Why, many a time I've looked at people smoking and thought, well, I wish I could do that, but I never thought I could," said Tom. "That's just the way with me. Hide it, Huck. You've heard me talk just that way, haven't you, Huck?" "I'll leave it to Huck if I happen." "Yes, heaps of times," said Huck. "Well, I have to," said Tom. "Oh, hundreds of times on down by the Slaughter's house. Don't you remember, Huck? Bob Turner's house was there, and Johnny Miller and Jeff Thatcher. When I said it, don't you remember, Huck, about me saying that?" "Yes, that's so," said Huck. "That was the day after I lost a white alley. Now, was day before. There, I told you so, said Huck recollected. I believe I could smoke the pipe all day, said John. I don't feel sick, neither do I, said I could smoke it all day, but I bet you Jeff tortured Colton. Jeff tortured? Why? He'd kill over just with 2 drowns. Just let him try it once. He'd see. I bet he would. And Johnny Miller. I wish could see Johnny Miller take it once. Oh, don't I? Say yo. Why, I bet you Johnny Miller couldn't any more duties than nothing. Just one little snifter. You will fetch him. Did that it would just say I wish the boys could see us now. So do I. Say boys, don't say anything about it. Say boys, don't say anything about it, and sometime when they are around I'll come up to you and say, yo, got a peep? I want to smoke, and you'll say kind of careless, like as if it weren't anything. You'll say, yes, I got my old peep and another one, but my tobacco ain't very good. And I'll say, oh, that's all right if it's strong enough. And then you'll with the peep, and well, line up just up camp, and then just see him look. By jinx, that'll be gay. Tom, I wish it was now. So do I, and when we tell them we learned when we was subpirating. One day, wish they've been alone. Oh, I reckon now, not. I'll just bet they will. So talk rang on, but presently it began to flash, trifle and grow disjointed. The silence within, the expectation marvelously increased. Every pore inside the boy's chest became as pudding fountain. They was curly bellowed. Oh, the sailors under tongues fast enough to prevent an inundation, little overflowing down their throats occurred in spite of all they could do, and sudden reaching for the way every time. But boys were looking very pale and miserable now. Joe's peep dropped from his nerveless fingertips, followed by for they were going frozy and boot pumps bailing with mine. Joe said feebly, I've lost my knife. I reckon I better go and find it. Tom said with quivering lips and healthy tolerance. I'll help you. You go over that way, and I'll hunt around by the spring. No, you needn't come, Huck. We can find it. So Huck sat down again and waited an hour. Then he found it, lonesome, and went to find his comrades. They were wide apart in the woods, but very pale, but fast asleep. But something informed him that if they had any trouble, they had to get rid of it. They were not talkative at supper that night. They had a humble look, and when Huck prepared his pipe after the meal and was going to prepare tea, they say no, they were not feeling very well. Something they ate at dinner had disagreed with them. About midnight, Joe awoke and called the boys. There was a brooding oppressiveness in the air that seemed to bode something. They both huddled themselves together and saw the friendly companionship of the fire dove. The dull dead heat of the breathless atmosphere was stifling, they say, still in the end, and waiting the somnolent hush, counting everyone, the line of the fire, everything was swallowed up in the blackness of darkness. Presently there came a quivering glow that vaguely revealed the foliage for a moment, and then vanished. By and by another came, a little stronger than another, then a faint one came seeking through the branches of the forest, and they both felt a fleeting breath upon their cheek, and shuddered with the fancy that the spirit of the night had gone by. There was a pause. Now a weird flash turned night into day and showed every little grass blade, separate and distinct, that railed about their feet, and it showed three white, starlit faces to a deep pelt of thunder went rolling and tumbling down the heavens and lost itself in a sullen rumblings in the distance. A sweep of chilly air passes by. That is everything.
Chilly air passed by, rustling all the leaves and snowing the flaky ash broadcast above the fire. Another fierce glare lit up the forest, and the instant crash followed that seemed to rend the trees ripped over boys' heads. They clung together in terror in the thick gloom that followed, with big raindrops fell pattering upon the leaves. Kick boys for the tent, a climbing Tom. They sprang away, stumbling over roots and amongst being in the dark. Not two flew in the same direction. A furious blast rode through the trees, making everything sing it went. One blinding flash after another come, and one Baruch dropped in the shield along the ground. The boys cried out at each other, but the riding wing in the booming thunderblast drawing their voice uttered. However, when we one day strength in that last and took shelter under the tent cold scarred and streaming wind weather. But to have company in misery seemed something to be grateful for. They could not take the old safe flop so furiously, even in the other noise would have allowed them. The tempest rose high in higher, and presently the sail tore loose from its fasting and were winding away on the blast. The boys seized each other's had fled with many tuggings and breeze to the shields of a great oak that stood upon in the riverbank. Now the battle was it hideous under the caseless conflagration of lightning that flamed in the skies. Everything below stood in the clear cut and shadowless distances. Then binding trace the Bienwe River. Will we the one the driving spray of flumix the dim out of the Higgs blue on the other side. Limping drove the drifting clogged in the slatting in of rain. Every little while some gigant tree yield the fate and fell crashing through the yonder growth. and the unfeigned trumpets come now in ear-splitting, explosive words, keen and sharp, and despectively upon the storm culminate in one match after that something likely to tear the island to pieces, boring up, draw it to the trips, blow it away, and dream ever creature in it, all at one and the same moment. It was wild and night for homeless, new hills to be out in. But at least the battle was done, and the force retired with weaker and weaker. Driftings and grumbling and peace resumed here our heroes. The boys went back to the camp a good way, but they found there was still something to be thankful for because the great sycamore, the shelter of treasure beads, was a ring. No, blessed be the lignets, and they were not under in when the catastrophe happened. Everything in a camp was drenched, the campers as well, for they were but heedless dust, like her generation, and had made no provision against rain. Here was matter for dismay, for they were soaked, drunk, and chilled. They were allocated in their distress, but they presently discovered that the fear had eaten so far up under the grit looking had been built against, very curved upper separate its end for the ground. That a handbreadth or so of it had escaped within. So they patiently roamed until we heard and barked, greeting for the undersides of sheltered logs. They coaxed the fire to burn again. Then they peeled on great dead bulls the day had a ring furnace, and were glad on smar. They boiled and ham had a feast, and after that they sat by the fire and expanded and glorified their minting adventure until morning, for there was not a dry spot to sleep on anywhere around. As the sun began to steal in upon the boys, drowsy come over them, and they went out on the sandbar and lay down to sleep. They got scorched by Owie and ready set about getting breakfast. After the meal, they feel rest and still joined, and the little homesick once more. Some say the singer, and fell to cheering of the pirates as well as she could, but they cared nothing for marvelous, or circus of swimming, or anything. Her hymning day of the imposing cigarette and raised array of share. Witty lasted he got them interested in a new device. This was to know of vegan pirates for a while, and be Indians for a chance. They were attracted by this idea, so it was not seen long before why they stripped it from escape to hit with black mud, like so many zebras. All of the them chiefs, of course, and then they went trending through the woods to attack a English something. By and by, they separated into the hostile tribes and darted upon each other from ambush while dreadful weapon and killed and scalped each other by thousands. It was glory day. Consequently, it was extremely satisfactory when they assembled in camp towards supper time, angry and happy, but now a difficulty arose. Mostly Indians could not break the bread of hospital together, with fears making peace, and it was a simple impossibility without smoking a peep of space. There was no pros that they had hit off two after the something allows wished they had remained spirit. However, they there was no after way. So it saw show of cheerfulness as they could muster they called for the paper and took therewith in due form. And behold, they were glad they had gone into savagery, for they had gained something they found that they could now smoke, a little without having to go and hunt for a lost sniff. They did not get sick enough to be serious uncomfortable. They were not like for to fall away the he promise for lack of offer. No, they practices closely after supper with rate for success, and so they spent a jubilant evening. They were prouder and happier in their new appearance than they would have been in the scalping and skinning of the Six Nations. We will have them to smoke and chatter and brand, since we have no further use for them at present.
But there was no hilarity in the little town that same tranquil Saturday afternoon. The Harpers and Ann Police family, very Billy put into mourning, get grey, gripped up many tears, and unusual quiet possessed the village. Also, it was ordinarily quiet enough in all conscience. The villagers conducted their concert with ancient air and thought little, but they sang of them. The Saturday holiday seemed a burden to the children. They have now heard it their sport and gradually gave them up. In the afternoon, Becky Thatcher found herself moping about the deserted schoolhouse yard and felt very melancholy, but she found nothing there to comfort her. She soliloquized, "Oh, if I only had a brass and iron no again, but I haven't got anything now to remember Jim by." She showed but a little sob. Presently she stopped and said to herself, "It was right here. Oh, if it was to do over again, wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say it for the whole world, but he's gone now. I never see him anymore." The thought brought her down, and she wandered away, the tears rolling down her cheek. Then quite a group of boys and girls, playmates of Downs and Joes, came by and stood looking over the falling fence and Tokum in reverence. tons of how ton they saw, and so the last time they saw Jin and Haiju said this and that small trifle pregnant with of prophecy as they could easily see now, and each speaker pointed out the exact spot where the lost limestone and the light and the assassin light and the eye was and studying just as I am now, and as if you was Jin. I was as close as that, and he smiled just this way, and then something seemed to go all over me like awful you know, and I never thought what it meant, of course, but I can see now. Then there was a dispute about you saw the dead voiceless in light, and many claim that this small distinction and offer evidences more or less tempered by the weakness, and when it was ultimately decided you did see the departing last, and increasing the last word with then the lucky parties took upon the sun a sort of sacred importance and were gay at envy by all the rest. One poor child who had no other grander to offer said with tolerably manifest pride in the remembrance. Well, Tom Sawyer, he licked me once back that bid for glory was a failure. Most of the boys could say that, and so that cheapened the distinction too much. The group loitered away, still recalling memories of the lost heroes in our voices. When the Sunday school hour was finished, the next morning the bell began to toll. Instead of ringing in the usual way, it was a very still Sabbath, and the northern side seemed in crippling with the musing hush that lay upon nature. The villagers began to gather, loitering a moment in the vestibule to converse in whisper about the sad event, but there was no whispering in the house, only the funereal rustling of dresses as the women gathered to their seats disturbed the silence there. None could remember when the little church had been so full before.
There was finally a waiting pause, an expectant dampness, and then Polly entered, followed by Seth and Mary, and they by the Harpey family, all in deep black, and the whole congregation, the old minister as well, rose reverently and stood until the mourners' users seated in the front pew. There was another communing silence, broken at intervals by muffled sobs, and then the minister spread his hands broad and prayed. Amen. Engine was sunk, and the text followed with I am the resurrection and the life. As the service proceeded, the clergyman drew some pictures of the graces, the union ways, and the rare promise of data loss that every soldier thinking he recognized these pictures felt a pang in remembering that he had persisted and until blinded himself to them always before and has persistently seen only faults and flaws in the poor boys. The minister related many a touching incident in the laps of the departed, to which treated persist and upon them grace, constantly seeing only faults and flaws in the poor boys. The minister related many a touching incident in the lives of the departed, to which illustrated their sweet generate as natures, and the people could easily see now how no blend beautiful those episodes were and remembered with grief that at that time they occurred. He had seen Rembrandt sculpts it is well deserving of the caveat. The congregation became more and more moved as the pathetic tale went on till at last the whole company broke down and joined the weeping mourners in a chorus of anguished sobs, the preacher himself giving way to his feelings and cracking in the pulpit. There was a rush in the gallery which nobody noticed. A moment later, the church door critic, the minister, raised his string eyes above his handkerchief and stood transfixed. First one and the another pair of eyes followed the ministers and then almost with one impulse the congregations rose and stirred while the three dead boys came marching up the aisle, Tommy the lead, Jonas and Jack, a ruin of drooping rags, sneaking sheepishly in the rear, the yard being hid in the unused gallery lane to their own funeral al sermon. On Polly, Mary and the Jarpers Yelpers through themselves upon the restored ones, smothered them with kisses and poured out thanksgivings, while Richard stood abashed and uncomfortable, not knowing exactly what to do or where to hide from so many unwelcoming eyes. G wavered and starting to slink weight, but Tom seized James and said, "Aunt Polly, it ain't fair. Somebody's got to be glad to see Jack." And so they shall. I am glad to see your poor mother's limbs sing, and the loving attentions of Polly lavished upon him were the avancing scale public of making Jim more uncomfortable than he was before. Suddenly, the minister shouted off the top of his voice, "Praise God from John of less influence, and put your ears in it." And they did all gentle and swelled up with a triumphant burst, and while it shook the rafters, Tom said, "Here the pirate looked around upon the envious Venice about him, and confessed in his heart that this was the proudest moment of his life. As a salt congregation troop of Dwight said they would most be willing to be made ridiculous against the year-old hundred sound like that once more. Tom got more cuffs and kisses that they occurred into on Polly's bearing moits than he had earned before in a year, and he hardly knew which expressed the most great fondness to God and affection for himself.
We know did you where did you sit? I was in Miss Peter Cracks, where I always go. I saw you. Did you? We is funny. I did not see you. I waited today you avoid the picnic. Oh, Tran is jolly. What is going to give it? My is going to let me have one. Oh, Woody, I hope she let me go. Well, she will. The penny is for me. She legs and Bobby come the way I want and away you. Try is ever so nice. When is going to be? B and B.
but we avoid because oh one if before you going to have and the guilt and voice yes everyone tries to me or wants to be and children ever so for fortiberly and acton but he take rain alone to Amy la racing about the terrible storm on the island and wow the lightning to the great sycamore tree and to friender while he was standing within 3 feet of it. Oh my god, no, oh my, I come, say Grace Miller. Yes, and me, say Sally Roger. Yes, I me too, say Sully Harper and Joy. Yes, and so on wing crapping of your fin hug till all the grow hug begging for invitation but Tom and Amy then Tom turned Collie away still sticking and Tom Amy with him baking his legs tremble and the stair came to her edges. She stays with a forced gravely and wait on chattering, but the light have gone out of the picnic now and out of everything else. She walks away as soon as she goes and he herself and how ways her sex call our creek. Then she some morning when one day printed still the belly rang she rose up. Now we are between cats in her ever and gay her pretend stay and checker and say she skin what she do. And Resenton continued his Friday win, win, jubilant self-satisfaction, and he kept and he kept stripping a boy to film baking and laser her win the performance, like he speak her book. There was a student falling off his mercury. She was sitting cozy on a lace bench behind the schoolhouse, looking at an spirit book with a fed temper and sober were they and they heard su crows together over the book that they did not seem to be discussing anything in the go very basics. Yellows ran Renho through Tony's base. He began to hard his himself for striking away the chance being of a rake for a reconciliation. He called himself a fool and all the hag named he coast train of he went there to creek we vegetation Amy waves happy Alois as they wakened, for his heart was singing. Backton is tongue had lost its function. He did not hear what Sammy was saying, and whenever she paused, expecting he could only tremble and awake and say, we was after mispraise and otherwise he kept treating to the rear of the show houses and I to share his away with the hateful expectation that he could know he is and his mother needed him to see as he threw his sack. The baking teacher never else suspected that he was even in the lack of the living, but she did cheese never taste and she was wearing her fry too and was to see him suffer as she had suffered. Amy is happy partly because intolerable Tom hinted and tried he had to Hector to drink the max be done and I was frightened but by that he cheaper on Tom Struy. Oh, Hanger, I know I ever going to he rid of her. Al lax he must be attending to those trees and she says addressly that she walks via road when school lets out and he has turned away hating her for it. Any of boy Tom Strully rating is three and boy in the world to Buddha says lows smarty try string he drays something and is aristocracy on al ring I leave you the fear that you ever saw this to Mr. and he lead you again you whose a wise tree I scale you hold you stay and he went strong the mountain of stretching an imaginary boy purely they are and giving and voice oh you do you holy knows do you know then let the lightning Joe and so the imaginary frogging was finished to his satisfaction. Tom Frey home and night unknown his conscience could not endure any more of famix is grateful happy and his halos could be no more of the district. Becky resumed her spiritual inspection we after affect back and the menu dragged along and not on came to suffered. Her triumph began to grow and she lost interest, gravity and excitement for your way, and then melancholy. 2 or 3 times she speaking of her ear and father, but it was a faith open the tomb can. At last she had entirely miserable, and we said she had no carried into fact. When for Alfred Saint Strand he was losing her, he did not know how sweet and screaming of her is a Julie one. Look at it. She loved parents and lags and sighed. I don't know, brother me. I don't know care for day and burst into tears and woke up and walking away. After Doppler Alois and was going to free to comfort her, but she said, "Wow, I was and lace me Alois cannot you, I have you." So the boy had wondering what he could have done, for she had said she was like a picture as store than none, and she walking on screen. The affair went moving into the decent schoolhouse. He was humiliated and angry. He wisely wasted his way to the strong that he had simply made and combination of him to when her speak upon Tom Sawyer. He was far from hating Tom the legs when this thought occurred to him. He wished there was some ways to hear the voice into try Winton much risk to himself. Tom is spilling bow fell under his edge. Where was his opportunity? He grateful open to the lesson for the effort no pour it upper the page. Baking racing in a window begin in the moment sat the act and move on window discovery her say she started homework now intended to fin to Tom and they him. Tom won't be transferred and they strawberry wow the Helen before she was halfway home. However, she had changed her mind. The truth of Tom is streaming of her wings when she was sticking of her pinky cake, calling back and filling her with she resolved